A self-made billionaire secretly goes undercover as a factory worker to find out why his most important plant is failing. But instead of lazy employees, he discovers a single mom mechanic whose unrecognized invention could save everything, and a manager who's being paid to sabotage the factory from inside. The deeper he falls for her while secretly funding her dream, the more his lies trap him, until exposing the sabotage means exposing himself and risking the only real love and trust he's ever had. The boardroom stretches out like a glass cage, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking an empire built on steel, sweat, and precision. 34 floors below, the city hums with life, people rushing to jobs, chasing dreams, surviving. But up here, in this temperature-controlled sanctuary where every chair costs more than most people make in a month, there's only one sound that matters right now, the sound of an empire cracking. The man standing at the head of the table doesn't look worried. Not yet. Alexander Cross built his manufacturing empire from a single factory floor his grandfather left him, turned it into a billion-dollar machine, employed thousands. He's faced recessions, hostile takeovers, market crashes. He's survived them all, but the words coming from his CFO's mouth hit different. Riverside factory is dying. Productivity down 42% in 6 months. Quality control failures up 60%. We're hemorrhaging $300,000 a week. The projections flash across the screen. Red numbers, downward trends, catastrophic forecasts. 800 jobs, 800 families. The factory that once produced 30% of their total output now barely limps along, dragging the entire company's quarterly reports into dangerous territory. Someone suggests layoffs. Someone else mentions restructuring. The VP of operations, a man who's never spent a single day on a factory floor, recommends immediate closure. Cut the losses, move production overseas, standard corporate playbook, clean, efficient, brutal. But something doesn't add up. Alexander built his career on numbers, on patterns, on seeing what others miss. Every report blames the workers. Lazy, inefficient, unmotivated. Yet Riverside was his most profitable factory just 2 years ago. Same workers, same location. What changed? He asks the question out loud. The room goes quiet. His executives exchange glances, the kind of glances that say they've already decided, already moved on, already written off 800 people as acceptable collateral damage. That's when he knows. They don't actually know what's happening down there. None of them do. They're looking at spreadsheets, reading reports filtered through 3 layers of management, making decisions about people they've never met, problems they've never witnessed. The meeting ends. The executives file out, already planning the closure press release. But Alexander stays behind, staring at those red numbers, thinking about his grandfather. The old man who taught him everything started as a factory worker himself, spent 30 years on the floor before buying his first small shop. He'd say, "You can't fix what you don't understand, and you can't understand what you don't see." So Alexander decides something that would make his board lose their minds if they knew. He's going undercover. 3 weeks, factory floor. Not as the CEO doing some sanitized PR tour with cameras and staged conversations. Real undercover, fake identity, fake credentials, actual work. His head of security thinks he's insane. His lawyer says it's a liability nightmare. His assistant asks what she's supposed to tell people when they ask where he is. He tells them to figure it out. He's got 72 hours to become someone else. The transformation happens in stages. The $30,000 suits disappear. The Rolex comes off. Alexander Cross, the man whose face appears in business magazines, who's been photographed at charity galas and industry conferences, that man ceases to exist. In his place, Alex Carter, recently laid off from a factory in another state. Decent mechanic. Needs the work. Just another guy trying to make rent. The background check is legitimate. His people make sure of it. The references are real. Friends who owe him favors, who understand what's at stake. The apartment he rents is in a neighborhood where the buildings are old and the locks barely work. He buys a used truck, dents in the side, check engine light perpetually on. He studies calluses on his hands that have softened over years of signing documents instead of turning wrenches, tries to remember the skills his grandfather taught him before business school taught him to delegate everything. 3 weeks. Find out what's really killing Riverside. Save 800 jobs, then get back to his real life. That's the plan anyway. The first morning hits like a physical blow. The alarm goes off at 4:30 a.m. Alex now, he has to remember, Alex rolls out of a bed that's too small, in an apartment that's too cold, and understands immediately that he's made a terrible mistake. Not about going undercover, about thinking he remembered what this life was like. The factory looms against the dawn sky, all concrete and corrugated metal. Parking lot full of trucks that have seen better decades. Men and women stream through the entrance, lunchboxes in hand, exhaustion already written on their faces. This is the start of their day. Some of them work 2 jobs. Some of them have been doing this for 20 years. All of them look like they've already worked a full shift before the clock even starts. Alex follows them in, heart hammering. His fake credentials got him hired by phone, but now comes the real test. The HR office smells like burnt coffee and photocopier toner. A woman who looks dead behind the eyes processes his paperwork, barely glancing up. She hands him a badge, a locker assignment, points him toward the floor. Orientation is 10 minutes. Don't be late. Marcus doesn't like late. Marcus Webb, the factory's general manager. Alex has seen his reports, reviewed his performance metrics. On paper, Webb runs a tight ship. In reality, Alex is about to find out Webb runs a sinking ship and doesn't seem to care. The factory floor is chaos. Not the productive kind of chaos where everyone knows their role and things get done. The bad kind. Machines running rough, strange grinding sounds that shouldn't be there. Workers moving without urgency, going through motions. Safety equipment that's old or missing entirely. The orientation is 15 minutes of someone reading from a binder that looks like it hasn't been updated since the 90s. Safety protocols delivered in a monotone that makes it clear nobody expects anyone to actually follow them. Questions are discouraged, concerns are dismissed. Then they're divided up, sent to their stations. Alex gets assigned to Machine Shop B under a supervisor named Rick, who looks at him like he's already a problem. Rick's been here 18 years. Rick has seen 1,000 guys like Alex come and go. Rick doesn't have time for hand-holding. You know how to work a lathe? Alex nods. He does, actually. Or he did. 20 years ago. His hands remember, but his muscles don't. Within an hour, he's struggling. The machine fights him. His back screams. His hands, soft from years of office work, start to blister. The other workers notice. Some smirk. Some ignore him. One guy, older, gray beard, sad eyes, shakes his head. You ain't gonna last a week. College boy. Because even dressed down, even with fake credentials, something about Alex still screams that he doesn't belong here. Maybe it's the way he holds himself. Maybe it's the fact that his exhaustion is novelty, not routine. Maybe people can just smell money, even when you're trying to hide it. By lunch, Alex wants to quit. His hands are bleeding through the cheap gloves he bought. His shoulders feel like they're on fire. He's made more mistakes in 4 hours than he's made in 4 years running a company. The difference is that his corporate mistakes get buried in quarterly reports. These mistakes get noticed immediately, get called out, mark him as dead weight. He sits alone in the break room, staring at a sandwich that tastes like cardboard, wondering if this whole thing was pride, ego, a billionaire playing dress-up because he couldn't admit he'd lost touch with the foundation of his own empire. That's when she walks in. She moves through the break room like sunlight cutting through clouds, and that's not poetry. That's just fact. Everyone else looks beaten down, worn out, going through the motions. She looks alive. Her coveralls are as dirty as everyone else's. Her face is tired. But when she smiles, and she does smile at everyone, she's genuinely happy to see them. The whole room shifts. She doesn't notice Alex at first. She's too busy checking on other people, asking an older woman about her grandson's surgery, laughing with a guy about something that happened on the morning shift, sharing her lunch with someone who forgot theirs. It's not performance. It's not networking. It's just kindness. casual, reflexive kindness. Then she glances his way. Their eyes meet. She registers him as new, as struggling, and without hesitation, she walks over. First day? Her voice is warm, slightly raspy. Maybe she's been up too long or laughed too hard. Alex nods, suddenly aware of how pathetic he must look. Bandaged hands, slumped shoulders, half-eaten sandwich. It gets easier. Not easy, but easier. You're in machine shop B? Yeah, with Rick, she winces. Rick's tough, but fair, mostly. You having trouble with the Century lathe? Yeah, how did you know? She grins. Because everyone has trouble with that machine. It's been running wrong for 6 months. Nobody's fixed it. You just have to know how to compensate. She glances at the clock. Come on, I'll show you before the shift starts. And just like that, she's leading him back to the floor, explaining the machine's quirks with the kind of intuitive understanding that only comes from thousands of hours of hands-on experience. She shows him where to apply pressure, how to listen to the rhythm, when to adjust. Her hands move with precision, confidence. She knows this machine better than the people who built it. There, try it now. Alex does. The machine responds differently, smoother. The work that was fighting him all morning suddenly works. You're a genius, she laughs, genuinely pleased but dismissive. Nah, just been here long enough to learn the workarounds. I'm Maya, by the way. Alex. And seriously, thank you. I was about to quit. I could tell. Don't. First day's always the worst. Give it a week. If you still hate it after a week, then quit. The afternoon shift is better. Not because the work is easier, but because Maya's advice works. The machine cooperates. Alex finds a rhythm. It's still brutal, still exhausting, but there's something weirdly satisfying about it too. Creating something physical, seeing the result of your work immediately instead of months down the line in some performance report. He watches Maya when he can. She works with an efficiency that's almost beautiful, moving between tasks, helping others, somehow doing twice the work in half the time without ever seeming rushed. But there's something else he notices. She's exhausted. Really exhausted. The kind that lives in your bones. And when the shift ends at 3 p.m. while everyone else heads out, she lingers. Changes out of her coveralls. Puts on a waitress uniform. You work another job? Alex asks before he can stop himself. She looks surprised that he noticed, then resigned. Diner across town. 4 to midnight. Gotta make rent, you know. That's 11 hours straight. Sometimes more, but hey, I'm young, right? That's what everyone tells me. Sleep when you're dead. She says it like a joke, but there's an edge underneath. Reality trying to cut through optimism. Alex watches her leave, heading to another job, another shift, and something twists in his chest. He came here to save a factory, but what about saving the people in it? People like Maya, working themselves to death just to survive, while up in that glass tower, executives debate spreadsheets and profit margins. The first week blurs together. Every day is pain, exhaustion, small failures, and smaller victories. Alex learns the rhythms of factory work, the unspoken hierarchies, the shortcuts, and workarounds that keep everything running despite the dysfunction. He learns that the workers aren't the problem. They're actually trying hard, but they're working with broken equipment, ignored safety complaints, management that treats them like disposable parts in a machine. He sees Webb, the general manager, exactly twice, both times from a distance. Both times Webb is yelling at someone, blaming them for problems that are clearly systemic. Once, Alex watches Webb dismiss a safety concern about a frayed electrical cable with, "We'll fix it next quarter." Next quarter. Workers can afford to wait 3 months to not get electrocuted. Alex starts taking notes. Mental ones, mostly, but sometimes in a cheap notebook he keeps in his locker. Equipment failures, safety violations, patterns of incompetence from middle management. It's all there, hiding in plain sight, invisible to anyone who only looks at reports instead of reality. And through it all, there's Maya. She becomes his anchor point. Lunch conversations that stretch into friendship. Her teaching him the real skills, not just how to work the machines, but how to survive the culture. which supervisors to avoid, which workers to trust, how to pace yourself so you don't burn out by Wednesday. He learns fragments of her life. Single mom, 7-year-old daughter named Lily, husband who left when the kid was 2, working 2 jobs to make rent on a 1-bedroom apartment, dreams she mentions and then dismisses, like she's embarrassed to want anything beyond survival. "What about you?" she asks one day. "What's your story, Alex?" And Alex, who's rehearsed his cover story 100 times, who's supposed to be good at this, almost forgets his lies. Because the way she looks at him, genuinely curious, genuinely interested, makes him want to tell her the truth, that he's a fraud, that he's lying to her, that he's the billionaire who owns this factory, who let it fall apart, who's now hiding among the workers to avoid confronting his own failure from the top. But he doesn't. He tells her the sanitized version, laid off, new in town, just trying to make it work. She nods like she understands, because of course she does. Everyone here has that story. Everyone here is just trying to make it work. The breakthrough comes at the end of the second week. A machine breaks down, really breaks down, not just the usual temperamental behavior. Hydraulic failure, oil everywhere, production stopped. The supervisor calls maintenance. Maintenance says it'll be hours. The whole line is dead in the water. Maya walks over, studies the machine, and within 15 minutes has it running again. Not just running better than it has in months. Alex watches her work, sees the way she intuitively understands the mechanics, the cause and effect, the elegant simplicity of the solution. "Where did you learn that?" She shrugs, wiping oil off her hands. "YouTube, books, trial and error. I like figuring out how things work." Then, quieter, almost to herself, "I'm good at it." There's something in her voice. Pride mixed with frustration, like she knows she's capable of more but doesn't know how to reach it. That night, Alex stays late. Not for work. He clocks out with everyone else. But he hangs around, pretending to have truck trouble, watching. And that's when he sees Maya in the empty break room, lunchbox open, eating a cold dinner. But she's not just eating. She's drawing, sketching something with intense focus, her hand moving across the page with the same precision she brings to machine work. Alex moves closer, careful not to startle her. The sketches aren't doodles. They're technical drawings. Detailed mechanical designs with measurements, annotations, cross-sections. Professional grade. Maybe better than professional grade. She senses him, looks up, and the expression on her face is pure panic. She covers the drawings immediately, protective. "It's nothing. It's stupid. Just something I mess around with." But Alex saw enough. "That's not stupid. That's brilliant. What is it?" And here, in this empty break room, with only the buzzing fluorescent lights as witnesses, Maya Torres makes a choice. Maybe she's too tired to keep secrets. Maybe she's been holding this dream alone for too long. Maybe something about Alex makes her feel safe. She shows him the designs, the invention, a component that could revolutionize manufacturing safety and efficiency. Automated, intelligent, self-correcting. It could prevent the exact kind of breakdown they dealt with today. It could save lives. It could change everything. I've been working on it for 2 years. In my head, mostly. Sometimes on paper when I have time. I know it would work. I know it. But patents cost money. Prototypes cost money. Even just getting someone to look at it seriously costs money I don't have. Her voice cracks slightly. Dreams are expensive, you know. And I've got Lily. I've got bills. I can't afford to chase maybes. Alex stares at the designs, his mind racing. This isn't just good. This is game-changing. This could save his factory. This could save his company. This brilliant woman, working herself to death for barely minimum wage, has created something that his entire R&D department, with their $1 million budget, hasn't even conceptualized. And she's letting it die because she can't afford to dream. "What if you could afford it?" he asked quietly. "What if someone helped you?" Maya laughs, but it's bitter. Who's going to help a broke mechanic with a wild idea? That's not how the world works, Alex. People like me, we survive. That's the victory. We don't get to invent things. We don't get to change the world. We just get to keep our heads above water and hope we don't drown. She packs up her drawings, preparing to leave for her second shift. But before she goes, she touches his arm briefly. Thanks for not laughing. Most people would laugh. Then she's gone, heading to another job, another shift, carrying a dream she's convinced she'll never achieve. Alex sits alone in the break room, staring at nothing, everything crystallizing in his mind. He came here to save a factory, but maybe the factory doesn't need saving. Maybe the factory needs burning down and rebuilding from scratch. Maybe the whole system needs Maya's invention, Maya's perspective, Maya's brilliance. Maybe he's been trying to save the wrong thing all along. But how do you help someone without them knowing you're the billionaire they probably resent? How do you fund a dream without it feeling like charity? How do you fix a broken system when you're the one who let it break? And underneath all of that, a more dangerous question. When did this stop being about the factory and start being about her? But here's what Alex doesn't know yet. The factory's problems run deeper than broken machines and absent management. Someone's been sabotaging Riverside from the inside, deliberately destroying it piece by piece. And the closer Alex gets to the truth, the closer he gets to Maya, the more dangerous this undercover mission becomes. Because some secrets, once exposed, can't be hidden again. Some lies, once told, can't be taken back. And some feelings, once felt, change everything forever. So tell me, when the truth finally comes out, and it always does, will Maya see a man who believed in her, or just another billionaire who lied to her face? Here's the thing about lies. They're easiest to maintain when you don't care about the people you're lying to. But when you start caring, when you start falling, that's when the deception becomes a living thing, growing heavier with every passing day, pressing against your chest until you can barely breathe. 3 weeks was supposed to be enough. 3 weeks to identify the problem, document the evidence, return to the boardroom, and implement solutions from the top down. Clean, efficient, detached. But Alex has been undercover for 4 weeks now, and he's not leaving. He keeps telling himself it's because he hasn't figured out the full scope of the factory's dysfunction yet. But that's only half true. The other half sits across from him every lunch break, sketches hidden in her bag, smiling despite being exhausted, and makes him want to be a better man than he actually is. Maya has no idea she's having coffee every morning with the person who signs her paychecks. She has no idea that the grant notification she received last week, the one that made her cry in the factory bathroom, the one that covers patent filing, prototype development, and a small stipend, came from Alex's personal lawyers disguised as a non-profit initiative. She has no idea that every small improvement she's noticed lately, the new safety equipment that mysteriously appeared, the payroll error that got corrected, the broken machines that suddenly got fixed, all trace back to the man she thinks is just another struggling mechanic trying to make rent. The guilt is eating him alive, but the alternative, telling her the truth, that terrifies him more. Because he knows what will happen. He's seen it before, in other contexts, with other people. The moment someone discovers you're a billionaire, everything changes. Suddenly you're not a person anymore. You're a bank account, an opportunity, a target. Or worse, you're the enemy, the symbol of everything they resent about their own struggles. Maya would look at him differently. She'd recalculate every conversation, reinterpret every gesture, wonder what was real and what was performance. And Alex can't bear the thought of seeing that light in her eyes dim when she realizes he's been lying to her face every single day. So he keeps lying, and every day the lie gets bigger. The factory floor has become familiar now, almost comfortable. Alex knows which machines sound wrong before they break. He knows which supervisors to avoid and which workers to trust. He's developed actual calluses, actual muscle memory. The other workers have stopped looking at him like an outsider. They've started including him in their conversations, their jokes, their survival strategies. He's become one of them, except he's not, and that contradiction gnaws at him constantly. But he's also started to see patterns, troubling patterns, equipment failures that shouldn't be happening with this frequency, parts orders that don't match what's needed, Maintenance requests that disappear into bureaucratic black holes. Safety complaints filed and never addressed. It's not just neglect anymore. It's starting to look deliberate. It's starting to look like sabotage. Marcus Webb, the factory manager, remains a ghost. He appears occasionally, always at a distance, always leaving destruction in his wake, yelling at workers for problems they didn't create, implementing policies that make no operational sense, cutting corners on safety equipment while approving expensive purchases for his office renovations. The workers hate him, but more than that, they've stopped expecting anything from him. They've learned that complaining makes things worse, so they've stopped complaining. They've learned to work around the dysfunction rather than trying to fix it. And that's when Alex realizes something crucial. The workers aren't the problem. They've never been the problem. They're the solution that's being systematically ignored, Maya especially. The more time Alex spends with her, the more he understands that she's not just good at her job, she's brilliant. She sees mechanical problems the way chess masters see board positions. 3 moves ahead, understanding not just what's broken but why it broke and how to prevent it from breaking again. She's solved issues in minutes that the official maintenance crew couldn't solve in weeks. She's developed workarounds that have kept entire production lines running when they should have shut down completely. And nobody in management has noticed. Nobody has asked her opinion. Nobody has thought to promote her or give her more responsibility or even acknowledge that she's single-handedly holding parts of this factory together with duct tape and ingenuity. It makes Alex furious in a way he hasn't felt in years. This is his company, his responsibility, and somehow, somewhere along the chain of command, it became acceptable to waste talent like this, to let someone like Maya work herself to death across 2 jobs while her ideas sit in a notebook, gathering dust, invisible to everyone who could actually help her. The coffee dates have become routine now. Every morning before shift, they meet at a diner 2 blocks from the factory. Terrible coffee, decent pancakes, conversations that feel like coming home. Maya talks about Lily, her daughter's obsession with dinosaurs, her struggles with reading, her fearlessness on the playground. She talks about her dreams in that half-joking way people do when they've learned not to hope too hard. Someday I'll invent something amazing. Someday Lily will go to college. Someday I'll sleep past 5 a.m. Always someday. Never today. Alex finds himself talking too, carefully editing his life but trying to keep the emotions true. He talks about feeling disconnected from purpose, about wondering if the work he does actually matters, about the loneliness of success. He doesn't say he's successful exactly, but Maya's smart. She picks up on things. "You're not really just a mechanic, are you?" she asked one morning, studying him over her coffee cup. Alex's heart stops. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. You're good with your hands, don't get me wrong. But sometimes you talk like someone who's used to making decisions, not just following them. Sometimes you look at the factory like you're trying to solve a puzzle instead of just surviving it." She shrugs. "Maybe you were management somewhere, before the layoff." It's a lifeline, an explanation that fits the evidence without revealing the truth. Alex grabs it. "Yeah, something like that. Hard to go back to the floor after you've seen the other side. That why you're always watching Webb, thinking about what you'd do differently? She's too perceptive. It's one of the things he loves about her, and it's going to be his downfall. Maybe. Don't you ever think about what you'd change if you were in charge?" Maya laughs, but there's an edge to it. "People like me don't get to be in charge, Alex. We get to work hard and hope someone notices. Spoiler alert, they never do. But what Maya doesn't know is that someone has noticed. Someone is watching her very carefully. And it's not just Alex. Webb has been making inquiries. Subtle ones, but they're there. He's noticed the improvements around the factory, the fixed machines, the new equipment, the boost in morale. He's noticed that production numbers are creeping up despite his best efforts to keep them down. And he's noticed Alex, the new mechanic who asks too many questions, who watches too carefully, who somehow seems to know things he shouldn't know. Alex discovers this by accident. He's staying late one evening. He does that now, using the excuse of overtime to observe patterns, document evidence, build his case against Webb. He's in the maintenance office, reviewing equipment logs that don't match the official reports, when he hears voices. Webb's office shares a thin wall with maintenance, and Webb is on the phone, his voice low and angry. "I told you I've got it under control. Yes, the numbers are up slightly, but that's temporary. The sabotage is working. Another month, maybe 6 weeks, and Cross will have no choice but to shut this place down. Then your company swoops in, absorbs the contracts, and we both get paid exactly like we agreed." Alex freezes. Every muscle in his body goes rigid. The words replay in his mind, rearranging everything he thought he understood. Webb isn't just incompetent. He's not just neglectful. He's actively destroying the factory. He's being paid by a competitor to run Riverside into the ground, to make it fail so spectacularly that closing it becomes the only option, leaving a competitor perfectly positioned to absorb all the business. There's a guy nosing around, new hire, Carter, I think, asks too many questions. "I'm handling it." A pause. "Relax. He's just a mechanic, but I'll dig into his background. Make sure he's not corporate spy or something." Alex feels ice water in his veins. Webb is suspicious. Webb is investigating, and if Webb digs deep enough, if he looks hard enough, he'll find the inconsistencies. He'll find the truth. And everything Alex has built here, the trust, the relationships, the closeness with Maya, all of it will detonate in the worst possible way. He slips out of the maintenance office before Webb finishes his call, mind racing. He has what he needs now. Evidence of sabotage, proof of corporate espionage, enough to go to the board, to fire Webb, to save the factory through legitimate channels. He should end this now. Come clean. Let Alexander Cross handle this the way Alexander Cross handles everything, from position of power, from behind a desk with lawyers and executives running interference. But if he does that, Maya will find out who he is, and he's not ready. God help him, he's not ready. Because somewhere in the last month, this stopped being about saving a factory. It stopped being about corporate responsibility or ethical leadership or any of the noble reasons he told himself justified the deception. It became about her, about Maya, about the way she makes him feel like a real person instead of a walking bank account, about the way she sees Alex Carter, the mechanic, the normal guy, the equal, instead of Alexander Cross, the billionaire, the boss, the untouchable symbol of wealth and power. He's falling in love with her, has fallen in love with her, is drowning in love with her. And the thought of losing that, of watching her face change when she learns the truth, is more terrifying than any business failure could ever be. So he makes a choice. A selfish, stupid, ultimately doomed choice. He'll deal with Webb quietly. He'll protect Maya's invention, make sure her patent goes through, ensure her prototype gets developed. He'll fix everything from the shadows. And then, once it's all resolved, once she's secure and successful and her dreams are real, then he'll tell her the truth. When he's not asking her to choose between her principles and her survival. When she can afford to be angry at him without it costing her everything. It's a plan built on quicksand, and some part of Alex knows it. But he's too far gone to turn back now. The grant notification changed everything for Maya. Alex watches it happen in real time. The way hope transforms a person. She comes to work energized now, talking about patent attorneys and prototype manufacturers. She sketches during lunch breaks without hiding it anymore. She's told the other workers about her invention, and instead of mockery, she gets encouragement. They believe in her. They're rooting for her. She's become a symbol of possibility in a place where possibility usually comes to die. And she credits Alex with giving her the courage to apply for the grant. "You were the first person who didn't laugh," she tells him. "You made me believe it was possible." The irony is crushing. She thinks he gave her courage. She doesn't know he gave her money. She doesn't know that the grant committee that selected her was actually just his lawyers following instructions. Everything he's done to help her, she thinks she earned, and technically she did. Her invention is legitimately brilliant, and she would have deserved any real grant she applied for. But she didn't earn it through merit and competition. She earned it because a billionaire fell in love with her and decided to play God with her dreams. How do you tell someone that? How do you explain that without destroying everything? The relationship deepens. Alex meets Lily now. spends Saturday afternoons at the park while Maya catches up on sleep or works on her prototype. Lily is 7 years old, fearless, brilliant, asking questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? How do birds fly? What makes trucks go? Alex answers as best he can, remembering explanations from his own childhood before business school taught him to think in market shares instead of miracles. Lily decides he's okay, more than okay. She starts calling him Mr. Alex, then just Alex, then starts asking her mom when he's coming over again. It feels like family. It feels like the life Alex didn't know he wanted. It feels real and honest and true, which makes the foundation of lies underneath it even more unbearable. They go to dinner, nothing fancy, just a local Italian place where the pasta is good and the wine is cheap. Maya insists on splitting the bill, always, and Alex has to carefully calculate how much money Alex Carter would have, how much he'd be willing to spend, making sure he doesn't accidentally reveal himself by being too generous or too comfortable with expensive choices. It's exhausting. The constant calculations, the perpetual awareness that one slip, one unguarded moment, and everything collapses. You ever think about the future? Maya asks one night, twirling spaghetti on her fork. Really think about it? What you want your life to look like 5 years from now? Alex thinks about the future constantly. He thinks about bringing Maya into his real life, introducing her to his world, seeing if what they have can survive the transition from factory floor to boardroom. He thinks about her invention revolutionizing his company, about working together as partners instead of hiding behind fake identities. He thinks about Lily having every opportunity, every advantage, every dream funded. He thinks about being honest, but he can't say any of that. So instead he says, I think about a life that feels meaningful, work that matters, people who matter. He looks at her. I think I'm starting to figure out what that looks like. Maya smiles, and it's sunshine cutting through clouds again. Me too. She reaches across the table, takes his hand. This grant thing, Alex, it's changing my life. I can feel it. I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to build something real. And Lily's going to see that her mom didn't just survive. She created something. She made a difference. Her eyes are bright. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. The guilt is a physical thing now, sitting in Alex's stomach like broken glass. Every word she says makes it worse, because she thinks she's thanking a peer, a friend, an equal who supported her. She doesn't know she's thanking her secret benefactor. She doesn't know that nothing about this is equal. And here's the question that keeps Alex awake at night. Is it really love if it's built on lies? Is it really a relationship if one person has all the power and the other person has no idea? Can something real grow from a foundation this false? Or is he just setting them both up for a devastation that's going to hurt worse than any business failure ever could? The prototype comes together over the next 3 weeks. Maya works on it obsessively, before her morning shift, during lunch breaks, late at night after Lily goes to bed. She converts her tiny apartment's second bedroom into a workshop, tools and parts spread across every surface. Alex helps when he offering suggestions carefully calibrated to sound like enthusiastic amateur input rather than professional engineering knowledge. The invention is even better than he thought. Elegant, efficient, scalable. It could prevent 90% of the safety incidents that plague manufacturing. It could improve productivity without sacrificing worker well-being. It's exactly the kind of innovation his company should have developed years ago, but they were too busy looking at quarterly projections to see what was happening on the actual floor. Maya is glowing. She's exhausted. Yes, still working 2 jobs, still running herself ragged, but there's joy underneath the exhaustion now. Purpose. Hope. She's talking about quitting the diner job once the patent goes through, about maybe, possibly, finding an investor who sees the potential, about changing her life and Lily's life and maybe other people's lives too. And Alex is planning exactly how to make that happen. Anonymous investment from a venture capital firm that's actually his. manufacturing contracts from suppliers who happen to be his partners, marketing support from consultants who are on his payroll, all of it carefully designed to look organic, to look earned, to keep Maya from ever suspecting that the man she's falling for is pulling strings behind every curtain. It's the ultimate deception, and it's the ultimate expression of love. And Alex has no idea which one matters more. But Webb is closing in. Alex can feel it. The factory manager is watching him now, asking questions, checking credentials. One of the floor supervisors mentioned that Webb requested personnel files on several employees, including Alex Carter. It's only a matter of time before Webb finds something that doesn't add up, a reference that's too polished, a background check that's too clean, some thread that, when pulled, unravels the entire fabrication. Alex needs to move faster. He starts documenting everything. Webb's phone calls, the sabotaged equipment, the falsified reports. He builds a case that's ironclad, undeniable, fireable. He plans to drop it all on the board anonymously, force them to investigate, get Webb removed before the man can expose Alex's true identity. But he's underestimated how paranoid Webb has become. And he's underestimated how much Webb has to lose. It happens on a Friday afternoon. Alex is in the maintenance office again, photographing documents that show the discrepancy between ordered parts and received parts. Evidence of Webb skimming money through fake supplier accounts. He's careful, quick, using his phone in a way that looks casual. But Webb walks in. No warning, no footsteps. Just suddenly there, standing in the doorway, staring at Alex with eyes that are cold and calculating and very dangerous. "Working late, Carter?" The way he says the name, it's clear he doesn't believe it's real. "Find anything interesting in those files?" Alex's mind races through options. Play dumb, act intimidated, create a cover story about looking for safety equipment request forms. But Webb's expression says he's past believing explanations. Webb has figured something out. Maybe not everything, but enough. "You know what's funny?" Webb moves closer, and Alex notices the man is blocking the exit. "I pulled your background check. Oh, very clean. Almost too clean. Someone paid a lot of money to make sure it looked exactly right." "I don't know what you're talking about." "No? Because I made some calls? That reference you listed? The factory in Ohio that supposedly laid you off? I talked to the HR director. Nice woman. Helpful. Said she'd never heard of Alex Carter. Said no one by that name ever worked there." Webb smiles, and it's the smile of someone who thinks he's won. "So who are you really? Corporate investigator? Labor organizer? Journalist?" Alex stays silent, calculating. What would a corporate investigator do right now? Probably try to negotiate, offer a deal. Webb clearly expects that. But before Alex can respond, before he can construct whatever lie might get him out of this, Webb's eyes shift, land on something behind Alex. The documents, the photographs still visible on Alex's phone screen. "You're building a case against me." "It's not a question." Webb's voice goes flat. "That's unfortunate. For you. What happens next happens fast." Webb moves toward the desk, presumably to grab the phone, to destroy the evidence. Alex steps in the way, instinctively protective of the documentation that could save the factory, and Webb throws a punch, not skilled but effective, catching Alex in the ribs hard enough to knock the wind out. They struggle. It's not elegant, it's not cinematic, it's messy and desperate and brief. Alex has youth and fitness on his side, but Webb has desperation and rage. They crash into filing cabinets. Papers scatter. And then Webb grabs a heavy metal drawer divider and swings it. Alex dodges, barely. The metal slams into the wall where his head was a second ago. And in that moment, Alex understands that this has escalated way past corporate espionage. Webb isn't just protecting his scheme anymore. He's protecting his freedom. People go to prison for what Webb has done. And people who are facing prison become capable of terrible things. "You have no idea who you're fucking with," Alex says. And maybe it's a mistake. Maybe it gives too much away. But adrenaline overrides caution. Webb raises the metal again. "Neither do you." That's when the door opens. Multiple people. Workers checking on the noise. And there's Maya at the front, taking in the scene. Alex bleeding from a cut above his eye, Webb holding an improvised weapon, papers everywhere, the clear evidence of violence. What the hell is going on? Her voice cuts through the chaos. Webb lowers the metal, straightens his shirt, becomes the manager again, the authority figure. Found this guy stealing proprietary documents. I've called security. They're on their way. He looks at the gathered workers, projects confidence and righteousness. This man isn't who he says he is. He's some kind of industrial spy. You all saw it. He attacked me when I confronted him. It's a good lie. It might even have worked if Alex hadn't spent the last month earning these people's trust. The workers look at Webb, then at Alex, clearly uncertain. But Maya steps forward, positions herself between them. That's not what happened. We all heard Webb attack Alex, not the other way around. She glances at the others. Right? There's a pause. The kind of pause where people decide which side of history they want to be on. And then, one by one, the other workers nod. Yeah, that's what they heard. Webb attacked Alex. Solidarity. The thing Webb has systematically destroyed over years of abuse and neglect. It's coming back in the moment he needs it crushed. Webb's face goes red. You're all fired, every single one of you, effective immediately. On what grounds? This from an older worker, the one with the gray beard who called Alex college boy on his first day. For telling the truth? For insubordination? For interfering with company business? For what, Marcus? Maya's voice is steel now. For finally standing up to you? For protecting someone you were trying to hurt? The situation is spiraling. Alex can see it happening. Webb is cornered, the workers are unified, and any second now, real security is going to arrive, and this is all going to explode in ways that can't be controlled. He has to end this. He has to end it now, before anyone else gets hurt, before Maya gets dragged deeper into something that could cost her everything. So Alex makes a decision. The worst decision. The only decision. He pulls out his phone, not the one with the photographs, the other one. The one he's kept hidden in his locker for emergencies. The one that has his real contacts, his real email, his real life, and he makes a call. This is Alexander Cross. I need legal and security at the Riverside factory immediately. I have a situation that requires executive intervention. He gives the details calmly, precisely, while everyone in the room stares at him like he's speaking a foreign language. When he hangs up, the silence is deafening. Maya is looking at him with an expression he can't read. The other workers are confused, pieces clicking together but not making sense yet, and Webb has gone completely pale. Alexander Cross? Webb says slowly. You're Alexander Cross, CEO of Cross Manufacturing, owner of this factory, and the person who's been documenting your sabotage for the past month. Alex looks at him steadily. You're done, Marcus. It's over. But the victory is ashes in his mouth, because Alex isn't looking at Webb anymore. He's looking at Maya, and the expression on her face, the betrayal, the confusion, the dawning realization that everything she thought she knew was a lie, that's going to haunt him for the rest of his life. The room erupts, everyone talking at once, workers demanding explanations, Webb trying to escape and being blocked, and Maya just standing there, frozen, staring at Alex like she's seeing a stranger. The man she trusted, laughed with, fell for. That man never existed. He was a ghost, a costume, a billionaire's idea of slumming it with the poor people. Alex tries to move toward her. Maya, let me explain. Don't. Her voice is so quiet, but it stops him cold. Don't you dare. I can explain everything, why I did this, the investigation, Webb's sabotage, your grant, and that's when her face changes. When the last piece falls into place. The grant. Oh my God. The grant wasn't real, was it? It was you. It was you the whole time. Maya, your invention is brilliant. I deserve, she laughs, and it's the most painful sound Alex has ever heard. I deserve honesty. I deserve to know who I'm talking to. I deserve to not be some billionaire's charity project or social experiment or whatever sick game you were playing. It wasn't a game. My feelings are real. Everything between us is a lie. She's yelling now, and tears are streaming down her face, and Alex would give every dollar he has to rewind time, to do this differently, to tell her the truth from the beginning. You watched me worry about money. You watched me work myself to death. You watched me pour my heart out about being poor and struggling and feeling invisible, and you said nothing. You just watched. I was entertainment. My suffering was interesting. That's not, I never, Maya, please. But she's backing away, shaking her head. I told you things, personal things. I let you into my life, into Lily's life, and you were lying the entire time. Every single day, every conversation, every moment I thought we were connecting, you were just, what? Researching? Playing pretend? The other workers are watching now. This intimate devastation playing out in front of an audience. Alex can see some of them starting to look at him with the same betrayal in their eyes. He fooled all of them. He played them all. Security arrives. Real security from the corporate office with lawyers in tow. They take Webb into custody, promising a full investigation. The workers are sent home with assurances that their jobs are safe, that there will be a company-wide meeting on Monday to address everything. The situation is being handled. Everything is under control, except nothing is under control. Because Maya is walking away, and Alex can't stop her, can't fix this, can't undo the damage. Maya, wait! She turns back, and the look she gives him is pure devastation. You want to help? Really help? Then leave me alone. Take your grant money back. Take your pity. Take your lies, and stay away from me and my daughter. Her voice cracks. I never want to see you again. Then she's gone. Walking out of the factory, out of his life, and Alex stands there surrounded by lawyers and security guards and the wreckage of his own deception, understanding finally that some lies are too big to forgive. He saved the factory, he exposed the sabotage, he protected 800 jobs, and in the process, he destroyed the only thing that actually mattered. So here's the real question. Can love survive the truth? Can trust be rebuilt after it's been shattered this completely? Or did Alex just trade a failing factory for a failed heart and discover too late that some prices are too high to pay? Can a man who built an empire on strategy and calculation learn that some things can't be fixed with money or power? Can someone who spent his entire life controlling outcomes accept that the most important thing in his life is completely out of his control? The penthouse feels like a museum now. All glass and steel and expensive furniture that nobody sits on. Alexander stands at the window, 34 floors up, same view he had from the boardroom where this whole mess started, but everything looks different now. The city below still hums with life, people rushing to jobs and chasing dreams and surviving, but he's not part of it anymore. He's back where he started, alone, successful, empty. The board meeting happened 3 days after the factory floor confrontation. Webb was fired, arrested, charges filed for industrial sabotage and corporate espionage. The investigation uncovered everything. The bribery, the falsified reports, the systematic destruction of Riverside Factory on behalf of a competitor. It's a scandal, a victory, exactly the kind of decisive leadership that makes shareholders happy and business journals write glowing profiles. But the board wanted Alexander gone too. Not for going undercover. They could spin that as innovative leadership, getting hands dirty, understanding the workforce. No, they wanted him gone because he'd stepped down from active management during the undercover operation, because he'd made decisions that prioritized workers over quarterly profits, because he'd fundamentally changed what the company stood for, and the old guard didn't like it. They pushed for his resignation, threatened a vote of no confidence, made it clear that his vision for a more ethical, worker-focused company wasn't welcome in their boardroom. So Alexander made a choice. He stepped down as CEO, liquidated enough personal assets to fund the worker programs he'd promised even without company support, profit sharing, safety upgrades, the innovation fund where workers could submit ideas for direct investment. He made sure it was all legally protected, financially secure, impossible for the new leadership to dismantle without massive penalties. He saved Riverside Factory and 800 jobs, but it cost him his position, his reputation in certain circles, his place in the empire he built. And he'd do it again in a heartbeat. Because that's not what keeps him awake at night. What keeps him awake is the look on Maya's face when she realized who he was. The betrayal, the devastation, the way she said his name like it was poison. He's tried to reach her. Called, texted, showed up at the factory only to be told she'd taken a leave of absence. He's tried writing letters, explaining everything, laying out his motivations and his feelings and his regrets. But she won't respond. She's built a wall, and money can't break through walls made of broken trust. Her invention sits in patent-pending status. The grant. Money remains untouched in an account she won't access. Alexander's lawyers have tried to explain that she earned it, that the invention is legitimately revolutionary, that investors are already circling, but Maya won't engage. She's returned to the diner, working double shifts again. She's punishing herself for daring to dream in the first place. It's breaking Alexander's heart in ways he didn't know were possible. He's lost business deals before, lost money, lost opportunities. But he's never lost someone like this, someone who saw him, really saw him, past the money and the power, and liked what she saw, until she realized it was all performance, all lies. 3 weeks pass. Then 4. The media moves on to other scandals. The company stabilizes under new leadership. Riverside Factory is thriving now. New equipment, engaged workforce, productivity up 40%. Everything Alexander wanted to accomplish, accomplished. Everything except the one thing that matters. He's moved out of the penthouse, downsized to a modest apartment in a neighborhood where people actually know their neighbors. Started teaching business ethics at the community college, sharing the lessons he learned on that factory floor with students who remind him of Maya, brilliant, driven, overlooked by systems that don't see their potential. It's purpose-driven work, but it feels incomplete without her. And then one evening there's a knock on his door. Alexander opens it, expecting a neighbor or a delivery, and finds Maya standing there. She looks exhausted, thinner than he remembers, wearing the same wary expression she had that first day they met. But she's here. Actually here. They stare at each other for a long moment. Alexander's heart is hammering so hard he's certain she can hear it. Finally, Maya speaks, and her voice is steady but tired, like she's been carrying something heavy for too long, and finally decided to set it down. I heard what you did, stepping down. The worker programs, making sure everything you promised actually happened even after you left. She pauses. That didn't have to be you. You could have just walked away. I couldn't walk away from them. They trusted me. But you walked away from me. It's not accusatory, just a statement of fact. You told me to. You said you never wanted to see me again. I was angry. I was hurt. I felt like an idiot for not seeing it. Maya looks down at her hands. But I've had time to think. About what you did and why you did it. About the fact that you could have fixed everything from your office and never gotten your hands dirty. But you didn't. You came down to the floor. You worked beside us. You actually listened. She looks up, and there are tears in her eyes, but determination too. You lied about who you were. But everything else? The way you treated people? The respect you showed us? The way you saw me? Really saw me. Not just as a worker, but as someone with ideas worth hearing? That wasn't fake. I know it wasn't. Alexander wants to move toward her, but he's afraid to break whatever fragile thing is happening here. I'm so sorry. I should have told you from the beginning. I was afraid you'd see the money instead of seeing me, but that was selfish. You deserved the truth. I did. Maya steps inside, closes the door behind her. But I also deserved someone who believed in me when nobody else did. Someone who funded my dream without making me feel like charity. Someone who spent time with my daughter and made her laugh and treated us like we mattered. Her voice breaks slightly. I'm not saying I'm not still angry. I'm not saying this doesn't hurt. But I'm saying that love isn't perfect. And people make mistakes. And maybe, What we had was real enough to survive you being a complete idiot. I don't deserve another chance. Probably not. But here's the thing I realized. I don't want perfect. I want real. And you, even with all your lies, you were more real than anyone I've ever met. She pulls something from her bag. The prototype. Her invention. Fully realized. Beautifully engineered. I finished it. Without your grant money. Without your help. I got a real investor who saw the potential. Manufacturing contract, everything. I did it myself this time. Alexander looks at the prototype, then at her, and the pride he feels isn't about the invention. It's about her. About the strength it took to start over. About refusing to let his deception steal her dreams. Maya, that's incredible. You're incredible. I know. She almost smiles. And I don't need your money. Don't need you to save me. Don't need a billionaire ex-CEO to make my life work. She sets the prototype down. But I might need a partner. Someone who understands both sides. Someone who can help me navigate the business side while I focus on the engineering. Someone who already proved he'll sacrifice everything to do the right thing, even when it costs him. She looks at him directly. Someone who owes me complete honesty from now on. No more secrets. No more lies. Ever. I can do that. I will do that. Good. Because Lily keeps asking when you're coming to dinner, and I'm running out of excuses. Maya's expression softens. We're not okay yet. This is going to take time. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. But maybe, if you're willing to do the work, the real work of showing up honestly every single day, maybe we can figure out what comes next. Alexander nods, throat tight with emotions he's still learning to express. I'll do whatever it takes. For as long as it takes. Maya moves closer. And for the first time in weeks, Alexander breathes fully. She doesn't kiss him. Not yet. But she takes his hand, and that simple gesture feels like hope, like possibility. Maybe some mistakes, when faced with courage and genuine remorse, can become foundations for something stronger than what existed before. One more thing, Maya says. That factory, those worker programs, don't stop. Keep fighting for them. Keep showing up, because that's who you are now. Not the CEO in the tower, the guy who gets his hands dirty, the guy who actually gives a damn. Don't lose that. I won't, I promise. And this time, Alexander knows he'll keep that promise. Because he's learned the hardest lesson of all, that real wealth isn't measured in dollars or power or control. It's measured in the people who see you at your worst and still choose to show up. It's measured in second chances you don't deserve but receive anyway. It's measured in the courage to be honest, even when honesty costs you everything. 6 months from now, Maya's invention will revolutionize manufacturing safety. Lily will call Alexander Dad without the Mr. The Riverside factory workers will unveil the Maya Torres Innovation Center, and Alexander will watch from the crowd, finally understanding that the best way to change the world isn't from the top down. It's from the ground up, one honest connection at a time. But right now, in this moment, in this modest apartment that finally feels like home, Alexander simply holds Maya's hand and accepts the gift of her presence, the gift of her willingness to try again, the gift of truth, even when truth is complicated and messy and hard. He went undercover to save a factory. He found a woman who saved him instead. And sometimes that's how the best stories end, not with everything perfect, but with everything real. So here's my question for you. Have you ever worn a mask so long you forgot who you really were underneath? Have you ever had to lose everything to find what actually mattered? Drop a comment below and tell me about a time when honesty cost you something but gave you something better in return. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about truth and trust and second chances, hit that like button and subscribe, because we've got more stories about people who risked everything, lost everything, and discovered that sometimes the greatest wealth is the courage to be vulnerable. I'll see you in the next one.